there we go. Okay.
Good morning from the Steel Guys here. It's the 18th of November, the year of our Lord 2025, 10 a.m. Central Time. We're live here to discuss and facilitate the conversation for us busy professionals in the metal supply chain. We're going to be talking about the last week's worth of news in the metal supply chain, kind of what we've digested and found out. And we're open to anything we don't, but we're just starting to facilitate the conversation. So we're out there asking you to log in, come in, tell us where you're watching from. And if you have any questions, comments, please put them in the chats. We're on the LinkedIn Live and we're on YouTube Live, as well as we have a Zoom webinar set up if you ever registered for that. And we'll be monitoring the chats in all three of those locations. We've had some exciting news over the past couple weeks, and I'm going to bring in Scott Glenn here to share some of that news with you.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever it is where you're at. How's everybody doing today? Exciting news, Jim. There's all kinds of exciting news. We woke up this morning. I guess that's
exciting, huh?
Yeah. Well, yeah. We've got a new product line that we're promoting, which we're really excited about. Both Jim and I have. Kind of one of the mainstays of our careers has been stainless steel welded pipe over the years, and we're proud to announce our relationship with a new manufacturing facility that's being constructed right now in the Dominican Republic. It's under construction and looks like if everything goes as planned, we should have product availability in Q2 of next year, early Q2 of next year. So we're excited to announce that. And if anybody has any interest in stainless steel welded pipe, we'd like very much to have a conversation with you to see what your position is in the marketplace and how we may be able to support you. So there's a lot of positive things. Yeah.
Exciting. And again, what we're trying to do right now too is accumulate a little data to help the mill set up the mill to best serve the U.S. market in 1/2 through 4 inch and even 6 and 8 inch, 1/2 through 6 inch to start with, and then possibly go through 8. But if we can find something out about the 8 inch fairly quickly, we might be able to get that installed in the first run here rather than waiting until a little later, because it takes a little extra oomph to cranes and moving things around, some of the rolls and stuff like that, and the equipment. So we'd love to.
Yeah, I think that we're going to do that in phases, if I'm not mistaken. I think we're going to go with the 1/2 through 4 to start out, but then the 6 through 8 is or the 6 and 8 is phase 2. I think if it's feasible and the market sustains it.
If we find out it's good now, and there's some people that would support it, we could probably get it done earlier than later too, as well. So it's out there. If there's some market information out there in the 6 and 8 inch market, 10 and 40, I guess. I don't know. Going to Schedule 80, I don't know. Again, if there's some market research on that, I didn't find throughout my history. I'd say that's not a stocking product. So the Schedule 80 isn't too many people stocking the Schedule 80 and the 6 and 8. But it is some of that is useful as well over the long term. But anyway, thanks for the update on that. Our purpose here today is to get involved in the supply chain of the news for the supply chain from the last week or so. I had ran into a little computer problem. I put the prep notes together earlier this morning and kind of previewed them a little bit, but then I run into some computer problems and did some things and I didn't get it. So let me just kind of start by the overview was over the past 7 days, 11th of November to the 18th, the metal supply chain has been marked by intensified efforts to diversify away from the Chinese dominance. Supply chain disruptions in key regions and surging prices have been driven by green energy and AI demands. Geopolitical tensions, including the U.S. trade policies and export restrictions, continue to reshape global flows. So here's a couple of items that we're going to be talking today. We'll kind of go over and then run into some discussion. And again, if anybody has comments about what we're talking about, please share them. And if you have any extra questions that are in the supply chain or something you'd like to discuss with the people on the call here, we'd love to hear those as well. I'll be able to bring those up and we can share that and talk about those. So the first one here is diversification and U.S. initiatives. Second is the supply chain disruptions and market volatility. The third one is price rallies and demand pressures. We've seen that's interesting. Innovative and broader trends, innovation in broader trends. And then finally, we'll have a summary going on. So there's about 4 points there we have. And as you were briefing for that, Scott, did any one of those hit you? And
no specific one. I think they all kind of interlink. We are seeing a little bit of a transition in the marketplace. At least from our perspective, things seem to be picking up a little bit. The geopolitical tensions is obviously something that's still kind of an unknown to a lot of people out there, and creating apprehension I think in a lot of people's minds on moving forward with different projects and maybe increasing inventory levels or whatever, because the old T word, as we've talked about for the past several weeks, months, if you will, tariffs, there's still kind of that uncertainty in the marketplace. So, it's people are still being cautious, and I think there's that cautious optimism out there in the marketplace that at least we're seeing some optimism. And I don't know what you see.
Have you heard? I just didn't see anything past. And I don't know, in the past week, can't remember the week, what day to day, but have you seen anything about the Supreme Court ruling on the tariffs? When that be coming out? Or
I have not. I've not heard anything about that recently. No, I have not.
Yeah, that's again, I know that everybody's expressed that there will be a little bit of chaos should that be taken away or deemed inappropriate. Then we have an issue on our hands, which I know we've dealt with that ourselves, and just watching it be implemented and the chaos it caused there, and some of the orders that were, because there's a supply chain lead time on that, and the people had prices quoted and delivered based on market conditions at the time, and then months later a tariff gets in and the material starts coming this way. It could even be on the water, and it's like there's a tariff effective on any imports after X day, and what do you do? It's already shipped, and if now there's additional
go ahead, finish it up.
Additional tariffs. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's the apprehension that I was referring to. I think there's a lot of people a little gun shy, because I think there was a fair amount of people that probably got hit with that when their material from overseas was being shipped, and implemented additional 25% on that, and the material hasn't arrived, but it's on the water, and your price goes up by 25%. It's anyway. I think people a little gun shy on that.
And the big issue on that is first of all, it's the importer of record that is responsible for that. So you got them paying it, but again, they go collect that from the end user somehow. Maybe not, and you don't even know exactly what they're collecting. Maybe there's a deal on it. Maybe they take back and rebate some of that. Maybe it's something, and it's like, oh, now what happens to that if the importer of record gets that money back? Do they then have to turn around and give it back to the buyer? Or,
well, I think this is one of the things that we were talking about. I believe it was last week. Is like, are the Section 232s part of that quote unquote tariff discussion that the Supreme Court is evaluating, because the initial 25% for the Section 232s was implemented, and there was no question back in 2000, I think it was 17 or 18. And, and then in the beginning of Trump's administration, he added another 25% to that Section 232. So I don't know if those are part of the tariff. I guess certainly you can't go back to 2018 and change Section 232 back that far.
Yeah, right. That's what you're saying. The 232s are different than the ones that, because that was a Congress an act, which is kind of the levying the taxes appropriately.
Right.
And the additional tariffs, though, that's implemented by the executive branch and all those other things, not the 232s, but all the other components and derivatives or whatever they are, that's something that the executive branch, they're saying the executive branch doesn't have the authority to do that. And that's
right. From our perspective, we haven't seen a lot of those derivative tariffs. Most of our stuff
is all steel.
It's 232,
right.
Related. So anyway, if anybody has any input on that out there in the marketplace, we'd love to hear from you. But, from our perspective, I think everything should be good. But anyway, still, you can take the Section 232s that were added on. They can be taken off as quick as they were added on. So that's another factor on the apprehension that might be existing out there.
Yeah, what does that do to the market? Cause chaos in the market. But anyway, so the first point here, again, let's go start getting back into the points we had, was the diversification and the U.S. initiatives. The U.S. is aggressively pursuing alternatives to Chinese rare earth metals, with the Treasury Secretary highlighting the first U.S.-made rare earth magnet in 25 years from a South Carolina facility on November 16th. Oh, 2 days ago, huh? Today's the 18th, right? This follows deals like a $500 million agreement with Pakistan for antimony. What is antimony? Antimony, that's an element.
Facility.
An element? Well, it says antimony and copper access. So antimony seems to be an element like copper in September, and push for Ukraine's minerals to offset the U.S. aid. Okay. Meanwhile, the U.S. antimony secured a $106.7 million 5-year contract for antimony trioxide on November 12th, bolstering domestic flame retardant supply chains and reducing import reliance from China and Russia. These moves underscore a broader scramble to secure critical minerals amid trade wars. That's been one of the things. I guess that's the same. That's more specific in some of we've talked about that, the critical elements here, critical minerals and elements and again, I guess those are some of the deals that actually have been reached recently.
Yeah, it's at the very front end of the supply chain of metals, obviously, because it all trickles down from there. Yeah,
all those little elements that belong. I mean, even stainless isn't just iron and nickel, and there's some moly and 316 mollies and stuff like that, and then all the other stuff that goes in there.
The chrome and whatever.
Right.
Yep.
Chrome, yeah, right. 18.8, right.
And the carbon. Yep. Yeah, good stuff.
Oh, the good stuff. So let's see here. Supply chain disruptions and market volatility. Tragic bridge collapse at a copper and cobalt mine in the Democratic Republic of Congo on November 17th. I did not see that in my news, but this is good to pick up. Killed at least 32 people, exposed them.
Yeah, that was something else there.
Prayers out to them and their families.
Yeah, crazy.
And it exposes risks in unregulated anti-Senel mining. What is anti-Senel mining? There's another. I should have looked at these things before. Anti-Senel. They shouldn't use words I don't know. Don't put words in here that I don't know.
Yeah.
Holy moly. This incident at an overcrowded site supplying industrial processors, highlighting ongoing perils in the Congo, vital cobalt mineral output, which faces scrutiny over forced labor allegations and lawsuits against companies like Apple. Separately, Indonesia's restrictions on gold exports announced midweek are fraying supply chain sparking some metal wars concerns and potential rippling effects on precious metal pricing. And then it goes in with the precious metal pricing, which we talked about. The gold and silver market saw extreme intraday volatility through November 17th, with prices swinging multiple percentage points daily amid inflation hedges and economic uncertainty, liquidating leverage positions and rising inventory risks for refiners and dealers.
Yeah, I think that gold and silver, both of those took a little bit of a dip here recently, but I know over the past several weeks I've been watching that, especially silver. Silver's climbed up over $50 an ounce, which
are they both at all-time highs, or they dropped off those highs?
I think they've dropped off the highs, but they both recently hit highs. Yeah. I know that gold certainly hit over 4,000. I think it was like close to 4,100 or something like an ounce, which is, I think that's the peak. It's dropped back down into the 4,000, right into $4,000 or something. I don't know. I don't watch it daily, but yeah, it's fluctuating a lot.
What I find interesting about that is I've always felt there was an inverse relationship to the equities markets to the gold. So people were fleeing equities markets; they put their money in gold, it was safer. And when they were going in the upwards trends of the equity markets, gold would falter a little bit. But this is interesting to see both of them hitting all-time highs at the same time. So,
right, and I think that kind of like to your point there, I think when there's uncertainty in the market, a lot of people head towards gold, I think. And so I don't know if that's a sign of what's going on or not. Right.
But why are they heading both? Why are they both on the upswing? Which is the next point here, the price rallies and demand pressures. A lot of that could be the demand pressures happening. So, you got copper, aluminum, and zinc prices have rallied globally, with copper hitting $4.98 to $5.16 on COMEX, fueled by the tight supplies and booming demand. There you go, from the EVs, the grids and data centers, which we've seen that happen to the copper, the wiring and all that stuff, and AI infrastructure.
Well, they stopped making the penny, so maybe we'll have a little, I think we've said this before, if everybody kind of turned in all the pennies they had in their house, we could probably double the supply of copper in the marketplace.
Yeah, I got a few pounds of it sitting in there, yeah. But I haven't used coins for a while. They're just sitting there from years ago,
yeah? Yeah.
Trade them in, give them back to the bank, see what happens, yeah. So forecasts warn of a 30% copper shortfall by 2035. So in the next 10 years, as new mines take 15 to 20 years to develop. That's interesting. I didn't know that. But
yeah, that was interesting when I saw that. That's a long time to develop a copper mine. I guess they're not building too many of them, but I guess they might have to now.
I wonder what the percentage of supply usage is for the demand for pennies. I don't know what that is. Like you were talking about the 4%, that mine that blew up or whatever a little while ago had that 4% market share. And it really affected the pricing in that particular element. I forget which element that was. So also in India, anti-dumping duties on Vietnamese steel and strong Q2 command results from Tata, which was announced November 13th, signal positive momentum alongside cabinet approvals for critical minerals production, which boosts steel prices and a climbing amid converging bullish factors like reshoring. Okay, so instead of offshoring, people are reshoring and they're bringing domestic demand. But I don't know if everybody's doing that. I don't know. That's an interesting point. Market by market might be affected depending how much export your producers were doing, as opposed to leaving your demand demand domestically. So if your demand domestically is stable and you're going to not export your material, you can do all your supply yourself. And then again, what they're saying there is India had anti-dumping duties on Vietnamese steel. So what they're saying is the Vietnamese product that they were importing has gone away or priced higher, which slows that down, allowing the Indian mills to produce that shortfall themselves.
Right. Well, you want to keep your your domestic suppliers, running at as high of a capacity as you can.
That's what we're seeing here too. Same thing we're seeing here, right? Not just in India, but that's the same thing we're seeing here as well.
Yeah, that was the objective that Trump used on all the tariffs. And I think that that's maybe trickling throughout the world, that everybody's saying, well, that's not a bad idea, but we do live in that world market. So trying to figure out how we can all get along and share the capacity out there. The overcapacity is when you really run into the big problem. And I think China is starting to address that on several of the metal production items, copper, and also on, the basic raw steel products, flat rolled.
Right.
They are adjusting. Yeah. So
kind of realizing that if their market's 100 tons, they can't produce 200 tons and expect to export 100 tons, because not everybody else, and that's, small numbers just for.
Right. Yeah. Dump it into other
illustration
countries at cheap prices just to keep it going. Yep. Yeah.
Right.
That's not the best way to do it. So
they can't make 100% of steel in the world.
Right.
Again, the concept there is, it's interesting, because I do an analysis of it and saying that they could, again, I'm fair and free trade. Free trade with fair trade is, the concept there. Again, if it's all free trade and they can, and it's done fairly, and they can.
That's the key, fairly, right? And we've talked about that many times, fairly. And who judges what fair is?
Without currency manipulations, without restrictions in EPA regulations, without labor laws that allow other people to do things. Again, who's the moral judge of all those things too? It's like that's part of that as well. So there's so many implications that go into these decisions.
Sure.
But in this case of the Indian anti-dumping, I believe there is, that there's that formula that has. In anti-dumping, there's that free trade, however, it's fair trade. And it's like, okay, if you're selling, and I think that's part of the equation, and tell me if I'm wrong or you have a different interpretation of this. The anti-dumping is you can't sell, for example, if you're selling all your steel in your country at $1 a pound, you can't go sell it and we're selling at $1 a pound over here in the U.S. And so you can't sell your steel from your country to the U.S. at less than $1 a pound, or that's dumping, because you're selling it at less than your market, your domestic market. And
I think that's the basic evaluation. I do.
Yeah.
I think there might be some deeper.
Yes, there's more to it than just
circumstances that are evaluated, but I think that's the basic gist of anti-dumping. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't just throw to put, and I guess there's a lot of that when you talk about economics too, and running the plants, your fixed costs. Once you get your fixed costs, you get your variable costs in there. So, at what point, that's another part of the equation is, you might be selling that excess steel at a cheaper price in your domestic market because your domestic market's covering your fixed costs. Therefore, you can supply it to a foreign market at a cheaper price than you're selling to your domestic. Again.
Yep.
Total tons.
Well, that's the term dumping. Yeah. If you cover your costs with your domestic market, and then you just want to increase your production by, as you referenced before, 100 tons in your home country, and then you make 200 tons, you got to dump the other 100 tons into other countries. That's the dumping part of it. But
you got to sell your product. You got to sell your product in other countries. But yeah. There's the key versus dumping versus selling, right?
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
If you're just dumping it,
that's where sometimes that low price does create an order sometimes, which is contrary to our theory out there that a low price never creates an order. But I guess sometimes
never creates demand. Never creates demand.
Never creates demand. Never demand for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's see here. The last one here is the innovation in broader trends. Precious metals traceability advanced with SMX and Goldstrom's November 12th partnership to embed molecular level verification in gold and silver, enhancing transparency in bullion banking and trading. I'll be danged, they're tracing the gold now. All right. They're give us a pill so they can trace us too, track us too. Did I say that? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not getting political here. That's Argentina's potential glacier law reveals. Okay, let me read that. Argentina's potential glacier law revisions could unlock restricted copper mining areas, while Zambia attracts U.S. interests from Donald Trump visit for sustainable copper supplies. The Metals company released its Q3 update on November 13th, emphasizing seafloor polymetallic nodules for lower impact critical metals backed by $165 million in liquidity. There's a mouthful for you right there.
Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of high-level words thrown into today's update.
Yeah. So, was the Argentina's potential glacier law revisions could unlock restricted copper mining? So they're restricting on glaciers, possibly? Is that what they're saying?
That's news to me. I know nothing about the glacier restriction laws. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. Maybe that got some global warming issues going on over there as well. I don't know.
Yeah, let's not tear apart the glaciers and icebergs we have left, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So experts are predicting metals prices could rise 9 to 40% in 2025 due to supply constraints and green transactions, urging inventory stockpiling. China's dominance persists, absorbing most net supply increases in iron, aluminum, and copper, despite workforce declines. So what they're saying, they're oversupplying. They can supply their domestic market, plus they're making more, so they have a lot to sell.
Yeah, but if there's a oversupply, that certainly wouldn't lead, at least in my mind, to using the basic economic 101 theory to a 9 to 40% increase in pricing. But maybe I misunderstood that information.
It's absorbing most prices. So what they're saying is they're going to absorb. I guess that's in any decreases. They're going to go off their profit margins. But why would prices go up? That's the case, right? That's what you're saying. Yeah. Experts predict metals prices could rise 9 to 40% in 2025 due to supply constraints.
Wow. Right, 2025. Yeah. That's 6 weeks left in the year.
So what that's that's saying, oh gosh, yeah, people are going to start buying for inventory and it could overstock, and then what we see is prices decrease next year. Yeah. With an oversupply of inventory. We'll see.
Anybody out there have any input on that? Help us out.
We're good. Let's see. Good. Yeah. So in summary, wrapping up here, the metal supply chain over the past week reflected a geopolitical chessboard with U.S.-led diversification, deadly disruptions in Africa, and export curbs in Asia, amplifying supply risks. Copper structural bull run dominates, driven by electrification and tech demands, while innovations in traceability and deep-sea mining offer long-term hope. Prices will remain volatile, but upward pressures from deficits and trade frictions suggest continued strain into 2026, prompting calls for faster permitting and recycling to avert bottlenecks. Good summary.
Pennies so we can recycle.
Save your pennies. Save your dollars. All right. Well, with that, you have anything else? There's no comments or any chats going on right now, so.
No, I don't have anything else. Other than we look forward to getting some people out there to join us in on these conversations next week. We're going to do it on Monday since next week is a holiday week with Thanksgiving coming up in the United States. So, Monday at 10 o'clock Central Time. Mm-hmm.
Sounds good. If you need to reach Scott or I, it's Scott Glenn or it's Jim Glenn, all one word with 2 N's on the Glenn, at steelrep.com. That's our email addresses. Reach out to us. If you'd like to help us and participate in that survey, please reach out to us. I would love to have you participate in that and get some information, market information from you guys. And we will share the results of the survey if you choose. If you'd like to have that option, share the results of the survey when completed. So you get, it'll be an anonymous. It's not going to be, you won't see who gave us the answers, but we'll give you the anonymous version of that.
Sure.
I think it's with that. And if you'd like updates on our construction of the mill, we're putting out every bi-weekly newsletter, bi-weekly memo of the construction updates. Love to put you on that list as well if you'd like to know more about what's going on. It's free, and we just could keep you involved in that. So, and with that,
it's coming out next week. So let us know if you want to get on that list, because
every other week
update will be coming out next week. Yes, sir. All right.
Sounds good. Well, have a good day. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for